All right, let's get started. How's everyone doing today?
Fine. And you?
Good, thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I give everyone the last night, I give everyone a quick kind of trivia, a question. It seems like Brian have had some a little bit of research there, a little bit of ideas. Brian, do you want to share what you got?
I actually haven't done any code yet. I've only
Yeah.
just I spoke to you about what I had to do. I've started looking at the work that Elbeck had done in the for the tests. Whoops! I'll just share my screen.
Uh-huh.
Of course, I'm going to go to the wrong one.
Mhm. All right, Brian, show us what you got.
Yeah. So the problem you left us with is how to deal with. So our broker's returning an int, but our foundation service is returning a date time offset, and you wanted to know how to test that.
So,
Test the conversion, and then in reality, we don't test the conversion at all. That's the responsibility of .NET.
that's right.
We,
We that's why we put it behind a broker. We need to mock it.
yeah,
We don't care about the conversion.
no, we only want what we compare about. What we care about is what we pass in is what we expect, and what we get
Uh-huh.
back, and what we get back is what we convert.
Precisely.
Yeah. So I really haven't gone much further than that. I started going through his the work he done in preparation to set up the test, and I realized he was building up the results instead of the return values from the broker. So I've started converting it back to the external models.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, he needs two things, right? We need to the random properties method should give us all the properties we need to get from it, to generate from it, or create from it, both the response and the expected local model. This is why you will see something and its equivalent, right? Like for instance,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see a property that literally says object or ID, and then another property right underneath it that says name. One
Mm-hmm.
of them belongs to the external response, and the other one belongs to the local.
Right. So why do we need to create a random result from the service?
From the service. You mean in
We
the
don't.
tests?
No, no, we only, yeah, in the test we only had to create a random result from the broker, don't we?
We need to create the random result from the broker and its equivalent as a response because we're not supposed to be doing what the foundation service is doing in terms of business logic. So we create the response and we create the expected model, the local model,
Yeah, well,
right?
I'm not au fait with doing that. Sorry, I'm sorry. I get what you mean, but I really need one of you guys to demonstrate that to me.
Yeah. It's
Yep.
it's pretty much what we did last time with completions and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey Gregory, hey everyone.
Mm,
Yeah, we
Sorry, my way of thinking was we will
uh
get a result, and we have to compare that result to that result has to get converted. Yeah, sorry, I'm just a little bit lost there, so I'll leave it with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me try to kind of just bring things into perspective because Euclid, Euclid law of axioms and implementing that in software engineering or test-driven development, that's that's very deep, very deep concept. So imagine this, like let's say your broker dot, get something, right, is giving you some value X. So let's say it's giving you something, right? And what we expect our foundation service to do is to give us something else. So when we say foo, and foo calls in a convert on, broker.get something like this, it
Mhm.
should give us back that something else, right? Now, here's a big problem that happens, with people kind of like just because someone is writing unit tests, it doesn't mean that they're writing unit tests. I don't know how to explain this. Like just because you have a unit test project and you're writing tests, even if you're writing these tests before you write the implementation, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have truly test-driven, approach because there's ways to do this. The rule that we're saying Rule 0 in test-driven development, is, you do not repeat the business logic.
Mm.
If your test is repeating the business logic, you're doing it wrong. Because you're supposed to set expectations instead of setting up the actual routine. We don't care about how the function is doing it internally. We care about all the things that happen outside of that scope. What are you returning? What exceptions are you throwing? And what calls are you making? Whatever is happening inside that function, that's not what the unit test method is or routine is meant to do. You could do your addition in any way possible as long as the expected result comes in matching, what the test is expecting. And in that sense, we're basically going and saying, okay, so inside that function, and bear with me on this because you're not going to find this in a lot of places. Like this takes a lot of digging and a lot of thinking to kind of make this work the way I'm talking about. So if
Mm.
this is something in here and we're making that call and you're expected to pass that something to a convert to something else, which is going to give you something else, which is a completely different something else like this. Let me zoom out this thing a little bit. So if you're doing it this way, I'm going to shut down my camera just for a second. If you're doing it this way, then you have to also understand that when you return something else, your test is not allowed in any way, shape, or form to repeat whatever happens in here. You just cannot do that because that means that you're trying to dictate or repeating the business logic, dictating the internal operation, which is not the point of the unit test. Then how do we do that? Then we basically go and say, some properties, and these properties is whatever all the things that we expect, the x's and y's and z's of the values, right? Maybe name in here or something, right? And let's say this is a Boolean, maybe true. And then out of that expectation, we go out of it and we go and say, okay, my something is supposed to be new something that has x, let's say a for all I care, some properties dot x and b, and so on and so forth. And then you expect the same thing to do the same thing for your something else expectation. So this something else class in here is also feeding off of x. So this is not talking to this in any way, shape, or form. Things that are equal to the same thing are equal to each other. I didn't do any mapping. I just went and said, here's my properties, and here where these properties are supposed to map to end up. And when I pass this to my business logic method, I expect this to come out from the other side. There's no mapping there. There's no calculations. There's nothing.
Yeah, I get all that, but the comparison is easy, except for we've got to process an array and a subset of arrays.
Uh-huh. Yeah, in this case here, like in this scenario here that we're working with, we're completely changing the model. So it's something more like, oh, the Z is actually, coming in as ZA, which is an array that has name in it, and we're
Yeah.
flattening that array. We're flattening out that array and we're turning it into one single value in the other model. Right? And that's truly the cost of abstraction. You're basically going and saying, I'm going to create that contract. And under no circumstances this contract should be, violated. We can roll up new versions of that contract, yes, but it should not be influenced or impacted by the external contract or in any way, shape, or form. Just because we're creating a local physical model, it doesn't mean that we fully isolated our application from being influenced by the external dependency that we're building. And we're going to see this a lot heavier when we start building SPAL. SPAL for AI, meaning that I want to switch between Azure GPT and OpenAI GPT and Bard in Google, maybe colossal AI, without having to skip a beat. That's where even more advanced, I say hyper advanced software engineering comes into play. All right. So let's see here where Elbic kind of ended up, and let's pick up where he left off. This is gonna be fun. I'm gonna take it from here. All right, let me do a quick fetch, sync up, get all the branches and all the stuff that the team has been working on. By the way, while we're doing this, the other, I think, Caitlin, Catalan, and Gregory Hayes, and Mabruk, he's with us here in the stream, and all these folks, they've been already pushing forward even faster than the stream, which I really, really appreciate. Like if I look at my I know that there's already a client or stuff. Maybe we can review the pull requests at the end of the session, or maybe at the beginning of the session next time. We're gonna have our own kind of ritual and ceremonies around what we're doing. But when I go and look at how our projects is doing, if I look at the issues and then go to milestones, look at this.
Yep.
This other stream is going at 33%. Ideally, we need to roll up something before next week. That's the goal, right? And because it's very repetitive, standardized process, it should be easier and easier. I didn't even know that someone started the transcript or audio file. So this sprint, if I were to say is it Wednesday today? It's Wednesday today for us, at least. Um,
Friday.
Wednesday going into Thursday. I'd say we're making such a great process. I'd say this is the beauty of standardization. We're already scaling out.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough talking. Let's write some code. Let's see here where Elbic, I don't know what branch he made, but I can just go and say foundations like this, and I know I'm going to find what I need. And that's another great value of standardization in terms of naming conventions. I can find exactly here. Elbic, get all, I see what he's doing here. I know exactly what's happening in here. All right, so AI models, and here's the retrieve, right? And he has his given and when and then. And we basically, what we really want to do is basically the answer to the question from yesterday is that we need a value that is integer, and we need that integer value to be mocked into the datetime broker to return a datetime. So there's no conversion there. If you start doing conversions, you're doing it wrong. You're just doing it wrong. That's all that it is, right? And that's the question that I put out there for people. So let's
We may
just
as well
see.
start. We may as well start testing all of .NET.
Yeah, we may as well just go test, .NET. That's right.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, right? In fact, actually, like I know that some companies look one bad concept or one bad school of thought when it comes to test-driven development could lead to even worse things. Like I know that there is a library out there. I don't remember the company that's releasing it. Is it called Easy Mock or something like that? That tells you, hey, we can allow you to mock native .NET models, so you can mock datetime value and mock, exactly when that starts to happen, something is going wrong. And there's a reason for it. They start telling you, you have to pay us money for it. You can't just use it, you know? And that just tells you another thing. Like, okay, you're already going wrong direction. Let's make money out of it, right? Not that there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying that the concept or the school of thought in kind of mocking existing framework stuff is a little icky, a little bit icky. Okay, so let's go back to our models here. So this is our brokers, this is our models. Let's pick up where kind of Elbic left off. I see services, AI models, and I see AI model and on model permission, right? What I said last time, I said start from the bottom and work your way up to the top, right? What that basically means is that if in your externals, by the way, let's see here, services, yeah, services, and then we have AI models. External, yeah. Just a suggestion for people, we might need to put these models under brokers, not under services, because these external models are actually coming from the broker. They're not coming. But then again, someone might argue, Hassan, that doesn't make any sense because when you implement against the entity framework, well, with the entity framework, we own the resource and the service. So it makes more sense that it lands in the service than a broker. But this might be a quick kind of code rub if someone wants to kind of take it and play with it.
Yeah,
But
this is what I said in the beginning of those sessions,
yeah, yeah,
if you remember,
yep. Hey, Jonathan.
because they are
Anarchy.
external. So for us, it's like the broker,
Mm,
external work
exactly.
for us.
Just like the broker, where they originate from, right? But
Mhm.
you know, that concept we're gonna have to be very careful with because even if you own the models, what does that look like or what does that mean,
Mhm.
right? So we're gonna have to be a little bit cautious with this. Okay. Um, all right, let's see here what we're gonna do. So I said let's start from there. So external AI models, and you know the AI model has a thing called external AI model has ID and object and all that. And I said dig a little bit deeper to get the permissions, right? And these are the permissions that we have in here. And I'm assuming I think Elbic already picked these up. So if I go into get random permission properties, there you go. So I'm gonna go here and just kind of take a quick look at these. And then let's find all the ones that look like this guy. Control X takes them out. Ah, took out the wrong stuff. Let's go here. And then I think we should be good here. Control X, take them out. There you go. And then I want to keep the type here just for a second so I know what's what, to push what where. So here's that guy. And then Control KD, maybe it will clean things up a little. Not yet, because it doesn't know what it's doing. So okay, so get random string here. Create random string. Right, so that's one, so we don't need that anymore.
Mhm.
And then here's another one. Let's do this real quick. So here's create random string again. Here's another one, and then let's take that out. We don't need that guy anymore. And then here is the created. That's just a number. So get random number. There you go. So that takes care of this piece. And then let's take allow. So this here is get random Boolean, right? So that takes care of
Mhm.
this one too. Let me throw that away for the time being. And let me generate that while I'm at it because I want it to kind of look pretty and nice as we go. So here's this guy, and let me just throw this in here. It's super confused right now because I'm keeping the types, and it's like, what the heck is going on here? We don't understand. So here's a string like this. All right, so that's my mapping here, and then we have also Boolean. So let me copy most of these. Let's get all the Booleans out of the way just to speed up things for us. So here's this guy. Here you go. And then do we have I know this one has a lot of booleans because it's a permission thing. So we could just do this, do this, do this, do this. Oh no, this is a string. So this is create random string. There you go. And then this one get boolean right there. So that should kind of do the trick for the external model. Can I clean up all of these? I probably can do just something like this. There you go. Oh, by the way, can I select? Oh, come on. Yes, I can. Come on. No. Alt Control. Ah, there you go. So Alt Control will make you select specific lines like that.
Yep.
That's pretty cool, right? So here's that guy, and then we can take care of this one as well. All right, so once that's done, we have the external part of the local models, which is great, but we're gonna need to consolidate some of these because some of them will have the exact same value, and we're not supposed to be repeating the mapping over there. So it's gonna have to be kind of assigned the same value this way. Okay, I think that cleans things up. I think we're good here. And then I just need to create that random string in here. So let's just go up in here and say New mnemonic string get value. Great. There's actually apparently one in here, but it shouldn't be a get. It should be create because it's not
Yeah.
a value that we pick up somewhere from the outside world. Okay, so that takes care of this guy. Now let's go find the alternative, which is basically the local permissions. What do these look like? So under services, if I go AI models, I go permissions, split the screen on this one, try to just see the differences, right? And we go through them one by one. So we kept the ID, we called the object type, so that's one. So here's string, a object type, and I'm going to take that value here, slap it in here, and just go up in here and say, here's my object type. I don't know why I made the O uppercase. That's nonsense. So see object, and then underneath it, I'll just go and do the same thing because we're going to do that mapping out of that bag, that dynamic bag in the future, right? And then there's created date. That's cool. He said created. I'm going to make it created date. And this is that tricky part where we stopped last time. We basically went and said, hey, well, hold on a second. We don't have the values in here. I'm actually just going to go ahead in here and say, give me a random date. And then we're going to use that in a second. So private, static, date time offset, get random date, right? Get random date. And then how do we generate a random date? Do you guys remember? So we can go here and say date time rate. Well, there you go. And, I mean, I wanted to kind of, what's funny is that this is the old way of doing things. There's a new way, but it needs a little bit of adaptation and explanation. Like this way here, is really problematic because if in the domain systems that we build, if you try to send a date that's 1 minute in the past, it goes beyond 1 year one, which is what new date time is doing. Huge thanks to Mr. Michael Mendelson for kind of inspiring that kind of mindset because he went and said, hey, there's a hole in our tests. There's a problem in it, right? But I'll talk about that in a bit. We talked about epoch and Unix time and generate exactly from that date. A lot of good stuff in there. But obviously, I know now that this is picking up because we never wrote that line anywhere else in this project. But also this exact line exists on GitHub. So definitely the model is feeding its data from standard compliant systems, at least at this point in time.
So just thinking out loud and clarifying. So this dynamic model you're returning has both the properties of the internal and external.
Correct.
This is where I was stuck and how to map them. Yep.
Yep. If I gave this to Kailu, he'd probably know because he's done it like 20 times, but that's the beautiful thing about these streams, right? I can just go and say, hey, we're actually going to do it this way, and here's why, and let's see how far we can take it. So, okay, allow create engine. We left it as sampling log probabilities. That's not going to be the same. So here's that guy. So we're going to go here. This is a Boolean. Okay, so string log probabilities. I have the spelling check enabled for Visual Studio, so we should be good.
It's Boolean.
Oh, is it a Boolean? Allow probability. Oh, good. Okay. Get Boolean. Thanks. Okay, so let's get that guy. Log probabilities, and also the same
type.
for this guy, right? Okay. Okay, and then allow search indices.
Change the
Allow.
type, please.
Huh?
It's a
Oh, the
bool,
type.
not
Yeah.
string,
Good catch. Yep.
Thank you.
Probabilities. Allow fine tuning. Organization.
Should that be called create random Boolean based on the
No,
previous?
get, because there's finite set of Boolean values, so you're getting.
Yep.
There's no creation.
Unless you know something that I don't know, Brian. If you know some quantum Boolean value,
Not yet.
In all honesty, just in all honesty, I think JavaScript is a little bit, and I take that with a grain of salt because I do not like JavaScript. I think it's a stupid language. But I think that for those who are really offended by that statement, here is JavaScript for you. Oh, just while we're playing. But one thing that JavaScript does that's really interesting is that they have things called truthy and falsy values. So a 1 somehow is a truthy value, a 0 is a falsy value. And if you think about how we observe Boolean, Boolean, by the way, is named after an actual scientist. His name is actually Boolean. I don't know what was his first name. Boolean scientist. He's a computer scientist or mathematician. George Boole. George Boole. So they called it Boolean after George Boole. Anyway, so I don't think anything in the world is in its abstract sense, and this is very Paul Wardy kind of a discussion, abstract, it, true or false. There are things that change their truthiness and falsiness based on the context that they're in, right? So for instance, if I go to Mabruk right now and tell him Mabruk is fasting, so if I tell him right now drink water, he'll be like false. If I come in this after sunset and tell him drink water, it'll be like true. So there's a context there. There's some ideas going on there, right? So I think Boolean expressions, there's some advancement there in the JavaScript world for this one. Okay, so
what if you use nullable property? So
if you do nullable, you're basically
yeah,
saying it's either true or false, so it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But it doesn't represent that its truthiness and falsiness, it changes based on the context that it's in.
No,
And that, Mhm.
I mean, how will you call the method here? Get or create? Because you
Oh, with
will
the with the null,
the null.
still get
Mm,
because it's finite set of values. True,
Yeah,
false,
will
not
not
exist.
create anything. Yeah.
You're not really creating
Yeah.
nothing.
No.
Unlike objects. And I think Elbic might have also his own kind of um, apprehension about, what should we say get, because the original standard, we were basically telling people you're always getting on primitive values. You're creating on more complex data types. Okay, so this is going to give us the permission properties, which is great, right? So I can go here and say, okay, inside that guy, you're going to go and say new like this. Excuse-moi. Oh my God. And inside that guy, you're going to go and say permissions. And this guy going to give us create permission properties, just like that. It's going to give us the permission properties. A little problem in here is that this guy is creating just one. We want to create many because I know that the permission, whatever it's being used, it's multiple permissions on the one AI model, right? So how do we do that, right? Let's go back here and gonna go and say private. Oh my God, how did it read my mind? Create random permissions returning the list. How cool is that? But it's not exactly what I want,
Yeah.
but it is close. It is darn close. Okay. So this is the dynamic model that we're working with, and I want to basically go back here. It's trying its best. It's trying. So okay, so enumerable like this, dot range, enumerable, dot range, and you're starting from 0, and your count is get random number. So there's gonna be just a random number of things. Get random number. The real challenge with these with this AI based stuff is that how do you develop it in a way that doesn't get in my way? It's supposed to be helping me, but sometimes it can be a little icky. Select item, and then out of that item, I just want you to create random permission properties. So that's that guy, right? The problem is that this guy is, even after selection, we need to say dot to array of dynamic value like that. Okay, so select item. Oh, select. No, it's not
Select of
select. It's
you you can select of dynamic.
you
Maybe.
cannot select of dynamic, right?
No, you need to indicate that you are talking about dynamic objects. So you see,
Really?
I don't know. I just trying.
Let's see here. The call that makes between the following method properties. Yeah, because we created two methods, so this is going to be permission
No,
properties list. There you go. That's it.
Mhm.
And then it's smart enough to kind of infer the type, so that should be okay. Okay, so now we're happy because this guy is giving me a list, an array of dynamic objects, but then we still have a little bit of way to go. Not a big way to go, but a little bit of way to go. So let's go back to where this is being referenced, which is this model. And again, we're going to start with the, whatchamacallit, we're going to start with the external, and then we
External.
work our way back. So let's take that, get that external model in here. This is where this kind of organization of windows gets really, really, really handy. I'm going to pick up all of these. Let's pick up all that stuff. And let's just go back here. I could swear that kid created a method in here for that. He didn't. Ah, okay, Elbic. Cool. Let's go back here and slap that in there. Here where it gets a little messy. And this is all okay. Even though it doesn't look like it, it's totally okay. And let me pick up all the guys that are like this. I forgot the shortcut for the. So Shift and Control X, take away that garbage. Clean, clean, clean. Yeah, it's not too many properties in here. I think it'll be okay. Okay, so we have all that junk, right? And then we don't need that external guy anymore because we already have that guy. And then we just need to generate in here. So this will be get random, create random string. Right? And then there's a whole lot of strings in here. So here is this guy also is here. And then created, that guy is an integer. So get random number. Like this, and we don't care really what that number is because we're not really doing the conversion ourselves, and then a bunch of other things like that. Okay, so if that's the case, then I can just go down here and say Control Shift, Left, and then it'll take care of that for me. Much cleaner and better. It's time to go back to the local model.
We
Okay.
change all properties.
Yeah, we basically changed all the properties, right? So let's
No.
go here and say string ID name.
Except
Right,
permissions.
says create random string like this. So that's one. Here's ID name. Create random string. There you go. Let's take that ID name and put it in here. And I'm going and saying ID name. Okay, and then the object, we said that's type, right? So that's gonna be object type. So here's that guy, here's the object type. And also in here, I'm gonna say type. So intentionally, they're set right under each other. So it's easy for the person that's developing this to kind of go and write the test for it. Okay, Lou, be on standby because after I'm doing that mapping, I'm gonna be writing the test. All right. So, and then I need a date. So here's created, it said created date, right? So that's create, or get random date. There you
I
go.
mean, we whoever wants to do this voluntarily can do this because I feel like every time I'm doing this, like most difficult stuff for the service.
You always do the
I'm not,
difficult stuff. That's why I call you.
yeah, I know. I don't know if anyone wants to do this. If not, I can do
Nope. Nope. You're gonna be doing it.
No.
Okay.
Except that you will be just writing the test. You know, that like last time you had to do this. I'm doing this time. Or did I do it the same thing last time? I don't know. So what did we decide on the original model? Was it the root? Is that what I did? The root?
Original model.
The original model
Origin model.
or origin model, we said
Yeah.
that's the root.
Root.
Did we? So this is root permissions. Yeah, I think original. Yeah, I think that's okay. And I also remember that we had something called parent, right? I don't know what we decided about that. What did we decide about that, Brian? Do you remember?
No, I think we decided. I can't remember. No, I was going to toss it, but you guys decided differently. I can't remember now.
Yeah, so root origin
Parent
model.
looks
Huh?
better. Parent,
Right.
I find parent is better because we are talking about model.
Yeah, well, both root and parent kind of give you the same thing. You know what's the root and parent? Like you start from
Yeah,
root and parent will be the same at the beginning,
at
but
the
if you
beginning, then
yeah, but then
yeah,
if you fine tune out of an already fine tuned model, they're gonna start differing from each other.
yep, that's it.
Right. I think it's okay that we add parent in there. I think that's totally fine. You know, I just want to confirm that this is basically what comes back, you know, but I think that's totally fine. You know, if that's what we
Mm.
need to do, then we're just gonna add this in here and we're gonna go and say, okay, this is parent, and I'm okay calling that parent on the external model, and I'm okay calling it parent on the AI model as well. Prop string
Do you have this in the external model?
the parent.
Yeah.
I sure hope I do. Let's take a
I'm just,
look.
I'm just checking on Postman now.
Yep, just doing the same thing. So I go back here. Here's models, hit that guy. Yeah, you have parent right here. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
We did that yesterday.
Yep.
And the reason why I was going to toss it is I looked at the data that was coming, and every one of them are null. But that doesn't mean, I guess, that in the
What, on the
future,
parent?
no, yeah, everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, but you know, it's null when the root and the parent are the same, I think. But if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, some nerd out there is gonna explain it to us. You know, we're just a bunch of cool kids, you know. Let's see here. Diogo says there is a typo on objected type. Yeah, thanks, Diogo. Probably true. Let's go back here. Good catch. That just tells me that object type. Thanks. Good. Thank you, sir. And then we need parent, right? So parent is parent is parent. It's gonna be the same for both of them. So I'm just gonna go here and say parent equal get random string or create random string. There you go. Cool. So we have create random AI model properties and we have create random permissions, right? Okay, so what happens next? What happens is that we need to write a tiny test in here. Retrieve, and we should probably call it retrieve all because there will be retrieve AI model with a parameter that we pass in. That's just another, you know, maybe next sprint, you know, once we do all the big models and all that, we can dig deeper into nested features because under every model there's its own thing, right? So I'm gonna go ahead here and just create a bunch of things. So dynamic and the AI model random properties list, right? So create AI models properties. And this guy, why is this guy returning a dynamic? It needs to return a list, right? List of dynamic. So this is good. Oh, this guy creates only, yeah, this is wrong. This guy is supposed to return a list of these, so
Yeah,
this is
that's
not
wrong.
gonna work. Enumerable dot range, and then we want to go and say count start 0 and then count. Come on. So it's a list of lists. Get random number. And then underneath that, we want to go and say select. And here's item. Stop it. Item. And then we do that. I misspelled enumerable. That's why it's barking at me. But oh, not enumerable. There you go. Silly. And we need to close this guy at the very bottom here. So Control KD will clean that up. Let's pick this all up like this. And let's do it this way. Okay, what's the problem here? The problem is that I need to move all of these internally. And I need to actually return this because now it's scoped. So you need to return something of some kind. That's one. And now all of this is complaining because I didn't turn it into a list. So we need to kind of give them a list like that. Right, now what else is missing? Do you need the type? Return new, this is good. Do you need the type really? Silly guy. Dynamic. Oh, you really do. You couldn't infer it. You should be smart. Should be smarter than that. Okay, cool. We have this guy. Let's go write the test here. Random properties list. So that should be create random. Come on. So control space should basically get you these values, but for some reason it's tripping today. Let's do that. Create random. Yeah, no autocomplete for me today. It's over. Create random AI models properties list. That's important because you're creating properties and creating a list of properties. It gets a little hairy then. Okay, and this is a list of things. List of dynamic. There you go. Okay, so we start from the top. Let's create the external models. Let's do that. So var this external model has a result in it, as far as I remember. So you have the external AI model result, external AI model result, new external AI model result, like this. And inside that guy, it has its own AI model. It has an object, and we really don't care for it. We don't do much with it. But this is where it gets interesting, right? Because now this guy has a list or an array of external AI models. So I need to take that AI model random properties list and map them into what is going to effectively be this this model here. Right? So we need to create external AI model for each one of these. And that's what we're going to be returning here.
Yep.
And we need to convert this into an array, I think. There you go. So now it's happy. Now here where it gets fun and cozy, you know, because we matched everything. I can now really confidently say, oh, this item.id specifically like that. We matched. It's gonna help me out. You know, it's gonna be item.created because it has to match. Item.object. Item.owned. But you gotta appreciate, you know, something about Visual Basic, I think, that was pretty cool. If your property and what you're mapping to are the same value, I think it's either Scala or Visual Basic, I can't remember. You can just do this. And it says, okay, that final value they're extracting, if it matches the property of that object, then just keep it as is. I like Scala. I like Scala a lot. I don't like Visual Basic, but I do like Scala. It does a lot of smart things. Parent permission. This is where it gets a little interesting, but we'll wait on that one. You have root, so item.root. And then you have permissions. This is where it gets interesting. So now I'm basically saying I am mapping an array of dynamic values. And this is where I go and say, give me your item dot. And what did we call this, friends? We called it permissions. Is that what we called it? Let's see here.
Yes.
Yeah, permissions plural.
Permissions. And it's the same for both. That's correct. Item.permissions. There you go. So we have this nice array of permission that we want to iterate on. So dot select permission, or rather random permission property. That's more like it. Take that guy down by 1. Take all of this garbage in here, and then we need to kind of start returning new permission, external permission. And because that guy expects an array, we're going to do this little favor here. Okay. Model should match as is. So I'm going to go here and say item.id. And I'm going to so allowed engine. You know, let's do this in a smarter way. If I go into the permissions and just do this and just do Control Shift right and copy that guy and just go all the way down here and just do this. Oh, there you go. And then I don't need that guy anymore. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy these guys, do this, do a random permission property dot, and then paste these guys and give me a thing, and we should be done here. Now this guy is gonna be tripping because it has both, so I could just clean these up like that, and we should be good to go. So that took care of this guy. So now that's the external AI model result. That's basically the piece that's going to come back from the broker, right? Now, something very similar to that, I can actually just steal that guy. I can just go here and say, give me all of these things because I'm going to steal all of them. And I'm going to go down here and say, here is my var random AI models. So new, well, it's going to be a, what are we returning? We're returning a, let's
An
go.
array of AI models.
Is there an array? Is that what it is?
Yep.
An array, right? Array. This is hilarious. IAI model. IAIIO.
It's actually an I enumerable.
It's
Sorry.
enumerable, right? So, okay, let's do this. AI model, right? And then I'm gonna steal just the rest of it. Really, I'm just gonna go here and just just put all that out there, and just change the things that I don't care about. So here's AI model. I know some things will freak out, which is great. That basically tells us what we need and what we don't need. And we're going to do the same thing here on the permissions. I'm going to say AI model permission. Did I say that right? Mabruk
Oui.
permission.
Oui.
Oui. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Haha. All right. Okay, friends, let's do this. Name item dot name, then take that guy out. Created, don't need that guy. That will be created date. So item dot created date. It's going to play very, very well. I'd be surprised if I got it right the first time, but we'll see. I think type item dot type owned by root. We said instead of root, we said origin model. So item dot origin model. There you go. So this is good. And then we have these guys. So we said model or type random properties. See, there's no relationship between these two models whatsoever, except that there's this common random properties that we're doing. So here's created date, like this, good. And this goes out. And then allow all props, allow all properties.
Probabilities.
Okay, what am I missing? You see anything?
No.
Good, perfect, fantastic, fantabulous. Okay.
Great.
Okay. So because the external AI model permissions has a list of permissions, and we also have a list of AI models inside of that, there is a couple of other iterations in terms of mocking that we need to talk about, because you're actually going to be iterating on every ID and it's matching created date and updated date, which is a great advantage for us because we can now go and say, hold on a second, because we created every model with a specific integer and a specific date, and that's what we're matching based on, then, our mocking should definitely match that pattern. How the heck are we going to do that? Oh my God, did I change in the wrong place? No, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Okay, so that's done. That's done. Good. Take that empty line, clean things up. Okay. We forgot something. I'm returning an array here. Let me enforce the type. This is why we always say, so this is IEnumerable of AI models like that. So that's random AI models. That guy should freak out. It's not because array is an implementation of IEnumerable. Got it. Cool. How long are you? 108. Good. Okay. Let's go to the next iteration. AI model random properties list dot select. And here's my item. It's not gonna be select actually, it's gonna be for each. Right? And here is my item. We need to find a better name than an item, by the way. And inside that guy, there will be another iteration. So what I'm basically saying here is that this dot mock and my datetime mock setup, here's my broker. And then we have convert to datetime offset. And that's where it gets interesting because I want the item dot, right, created to return item dot created date on that level, right? Now, why is this guy tripping? Because this is a dynamic value and it doesn't know what to do with it. And also this is a dynamic value. It doesn't like dynamic operations. So let's do this. Int, created value, I just created, and item.created, and then we can kind of satisfy this really opinionated testing framework. And now this guy is probably saying, oh, give me only uint, which is probably a mistake because we decided to do int, right? So let's fix that. That guy is gonna freak out. Let's go back here and fix that. Here we go. Happy, happy? Happy Gilmore? Good. There you go. So that's one part. But that's not enough because inside this item itself, there is more. There's this little guy in here, the permissions guy. So inside the permissions, I want to go and say for each, right? And here is a permission, like that. And I'm doing another iteration of setting up things. So I'm going to take the same guy in here, pretty much same guy, and I have my own permission created in here. So this is permission created. So this is permission.created. So that's that guy. And then permission created goes in as input parameter and it returns permission.created date. Oh, wrong one. Permission.created date like that. Now, why is this guy tripping? Because you can't do that. There's no argument given. Okay, so do you want this?
Yep.
Sure. In theory, this makes sense. In theory, right? The setup, everything we're doing here pretty much makes sense. So we did the setup across all of these. I did lie to people. I said to them the gate will be easy, but a little bit of thinking there in terms of
Yeah.
you have to know what you're doing. You have to know what you're doing. It's still easy, but you have to know what you're doing.
Do we need to count? Do we need to count how many items so we can check how many times the broker's been called?
Oh, that's coming. Just wait. I don't just need to count how many, like we use count the operator, how many times the mock has been called if we're calling with the same value.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, we're gonna have to do something very similar to this, but verify. It's completely different values. Right? We'll get back to this part. This is a massive change, but it's really important. You know, fundamentally, it's just the same components, but they're on a large scale. Okay, what that means is that we did the setup, but that's not enough because I want to go here and say AI model expected AI models. Since we called it with AI uppercase, we may as well, right? And we should do that here as well. So in here, I'm going to say random AI models like this. Good. And then I'm going to go and say AI model array actual AI models equals. And then await, do that junk. And then we can go here and say actual AI models should like this, should be equivalent to
Returns and my enumeral.
expected AI models. Oh yeah, that's right. Thanks. There you go. I enumerable. Okay, something very similar to the setup that we just did here. I need to verify that we called the right stuff. So I'm gonna go here and just say, give me that, but instead of setup, give me a verify. And the same thing here. Instead of setup, give me a verify. And because they're unique in and of themselves, you know, we can't just go and say, oh, you need to be called X number of times. It's once per call, unless we don't care about what's being passed in, which we do. We do a lot. The same thing here is that I'm gonna take this out, Control X, take that out, and then do a comma in here, and this do times dot once. Okay, and then at the very end here, I'm just gonna go and say mock verify no other calls. That's right. And then mock again, verify no other calls. This is not enough. There's another verify that we need to do in a second. AI model, mock, if you just type mock, it'll give it up to you. But that particular order extremely important. We still have to go back here and say this dot OpenAI mock dot verify. And here is our broker. And this is like a get all AI models async has been called times once. If this was an input parameter that we need to pass in, oh, that's a whole new story for us. But luckily, we don't have to do that. So this is set up in here. Broker.get async. Good. And then this guy needs to return asynchronously the random external, what did we call it? External AI model result. There you go. Okay, so let's just run this and see what happened. Control MO, collapse the world. Oh, it doesn't collapse these guys. There's another shortcut for it to expand and collapse. Let's just take a look at our test here just to make sure things look right. I also don't like... there you go. Okay. All right, huge test. Let's run this. Control R, Control T. It should run without debugging. There you go. Diogo says, can that verification fail if more than one random model has the same created value? Yeah, but you're playing a very dangerous game. Like, how likely are you to run in a scenario where you're generating random values for... It's not very likely, but it can happen. That's a very, very good observation, right? Because you're basically saying verify that that particular value has been called, but you already called it more than one time. That's very true. There's probably a way.
But you set it up more than one time.
Set up what more than one time?
The broker.
Yeah, I wonder if that makes a difference. That's a good question. But by the way, my mapping here is 100% on point. Look, like I got it right the first time. Kailu, I wrote the test. Do you want to do it or no? No.
Okay.
Come on, man. It's a heavy one. Come on. I keep you for the heavy stuff. Here. Go. Thank you, sir. It's probably true, Diogo. It's probably true, and that's probably what Kailu's literally just gonna run into in a second, but we'll see. Okay.
Let's give it a try.
I was going to make the mistake of counting all the iterations and somehow sort of see how many times. But I didn't realize you could do the once inside the block.
Absolutely. Of course you can. Zoom in a little bit, please, Kay. Appreciate you. Yeah, 150 should do the trick. I will sit here while Kailu is writing all the code and just I take all the credit. Go.
Bon appétit.
Okay.
What?
Yep, that's your guy. Let's do it. Lucky for us, we don't have any verification to do here because we're not passing anything. But the next method that will be implemented in here, the one that returns just one AI model, is certainly going to have a very minimum level verification. So that's
Yep.
good. That's good. Okay, let's do it. Can you believe we're just on the third feature and we already have 27 unit tests? What are we writing all these tests for? What are we doing? But I think also the foundation service for image, no, it's not there. We're gonna need to merge with main at some point
Mm.
because I just merged the foundation service. All right, Kay, tell me what you got. Yeah, you're gonna be calling this broker. It's gonna give you something called an external AI model result. And then that result, we're gonna extract from it, the list of external AI models. And that's where the party gets started. It's just one result. Should we call it results?
No, it's one
No.
request, one result.
One request, one result with bunch of with a list of things inside of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the request itself is one.
I know one thing for certain. Anytime you name a model a plural, that's probably wrong. Like anytime you decide that your model is gonna be plural, you're probably doing something wrong. But
Single responsibility.
single responsibility,
Yeah.
that the least the unit, one unit of test, right? One unit of operation.
Yep.
Yep, that's your guy, Kailu. If you do a select on that guy and do most of the mapping that we expect in here, that should do the trick. Look how the arrows turn into an actual arrow
Yeah.
in Kailu's I think he's using
Style.
yeah, that's pretty neat. Like it. Mm.
How did you do that, Kylo?
I
Did
let
you?
Visual Studio take care of it for me.
You just did the defaults? That's crazy, man. No, I think you did it at some point in time and you saved it to your Visual Studio account and it just applied properties on it. Also, the machine that he's working on, he's been using it for like 6 years or something. So he did it. He just doesn't remember. I think that's what
I
it is.
think so.
Yeah. Kailu, just so you understand, there's a little trippiness that's gonna happen here because it's not one-to-one, as you may expect. Like this AI model that you're calling doesn't have anything called name, which is kind of proves my point. You're not repeating the business logic. Like the test is not going to give you that. You're going to have to do that mapping. So for name, you just need to say ID.
Okay.
Yeah. And for created date, now you're going to need to call the broker, my friend. So this dot datetime broker dot convert. Yep. And then pass in there AI model dot created. That's my guy right there. And then for type, it's going to be object. Owned by is owned by. Parent is parent. Origin model is going to be root. Good. All right. Now, what is this? This is not going to be dynamic anymore. It's going to be just permissions.select. So keep all of that. You could do it this way too. Yep. Permissions. Select. And then, yeah, this is just a permission. Call it external permission, K. It's much better this way. And for the AI model, call it external AI model, just so we are very clear on our expectations there. You think it's gonna work from the first time? That'll be interesting. We have achieved a new level of professionality. Let's see. The same thing. Okay, so instead of type, it's objects. You call your broker at this point. We should probably put this somewhere in the method to just minimize this, but yeah, that's that. Uh-huh. And in here, it's the same thing. External permission dot created. Good. Yeah, this will be allow props. There you go. It's gonna help you out. And then searches, I think that's it. I think that's all. Yeah.
Cool.
I think you have some errors at the bottom there and some at the top
Yeah,
and stuff.
let's clean up stuff.
Yeah.
This is
Mm.
then this. Where's my? Yeah, okay, it's just dot two. What is this?
Yeah, you can say the dot to array, it'll work. Yep, now just return that guy and we should be good. Yeah, let's run it. It'll be interesting. Got this right the first time, we'll be like, wow, that's a whole new level right there. Mm. It's probably gonna be something in the mapping or something there. Let's just see. Expected actual, yeah. You know why that's happening? I know why that's happening. Go back to the test itself. This is what Diogo was just talking about. He's basically saying you set up the same value, but you're returning two different things. And that's not gonna work. So go to the root of this test. Okay, scroll all the way down. Actually, give me this test, okay? Because it's gonna be a couple of iterations. Just give me this as WIP. That's exactly what Diogo was talking about. Let's go here. Yep. Here we go. And then let's take this from here. And then what I'm gonna do is just kind of, and this is, we need a better solution for this. You know, I agree with him. We definitely need a much better solution for this problem. But what I'm saying here is that I'm gonna just go here and increase the sample size. So let me pull Kailu stuff in here. Come on. Yep. And then instead of creating that random number, create random date number, which is gonna change everywhere. And then I'm gonna start minimum here from int.min value. And here is gonna be int.max value. So that's gonna give you a much larger number. But I also need a static int get random number that's not a date that starts from int range from min 2 and max 9 or 10, which basically that guy, because I still need that guy to generate a list of things. Wherever I say IEnumerable and iterate, I need that to happen. So that's gonna be here, and that's gonna be right here. Now, that's not a good engineering solution because I'm basically playing with fire here. I'm basically saying, hey, here is a flaky test that I know for a fact that at some point in time, randomly, it's just gonna break our pipeline. As usual, you know, so see that guy is passing, but there is absolutely no guarantee, right? Let's run this for 1,000 times and see what happens.
What if we created an array of random numbers that was distinct?
That's probably one way to go, you know. So Brian, why don't you create a code rub task Actually call it minor fix, because this is a problem. Create a minor fix. I'm running it 1,000 times just to show people what I'm talking about. Diogo's 100% spot on. I don't know you, dude, but that's spot on. You're 100% with us here. What I want to do is we're going to create a minor fix, and the minor fix is basically we need to somehow guarantee the uniqueness of the values and the random values that we're creating, and it needs to be beautiful and it needs to be simple. So a solution off the top, creating a dictionary that has the existing key and then go get another value, sure, we can do that. I want something a little bit prettier than that. One idea that I have to just guarantee uniqueness, you know, back to what Diogo and Brian just talked about, is to create a, like, the method that gives you a random date number is always gonna give you a unique value. Like, it's gonna iterate on that dictionary. But then the problem is, are you gonna go specify a dictionary in uh, are you gonna go specify a dictionary in as a property on the test method? If you do that approach, I'm not okay with it. So you need to find a better way to do this. I don't know how. Take your shot at it. You know, just explain the problem and the solution that we're saying. When we call this random date number to guarantee absolute good engineering skill quality there, we need to kind of check first before we give that value out as of whether we give that value away already or not. Right? One easy way to do this is to basically pick up the previous value and add on top of it. But that's also another way you can do this is to go and say pick up the current, like on the ticker, pick up the current value of the date that we're running is, but that's hacky and garbage, and I don't like it. Because anyone could hack around and basically go and say, okay, any value that's before the current date and time where the test is running is gonna fail. You know what I mean? Like, you can get the ticks of the current clock on your machine. And these are definitely gonna be unique, 100%. Is that the way to go? That's the easiest way. Like, that's the simplest way to go. But definitely the current solution, even though after how many iterations do we have now? After 129, 130 iterations, it's becoming extremely rare for something like that to happen, but we know for a fact that we just created garbage code that we need to increase the quality of. If there is no, go ahead.
Maybe you can randomize the max value of you start mean value with random max, and then you start another iteration with max as mean, and you start with a new max. So you are going step, just like time. Like
good. Where do
time
you
is
save?
gone.
Okay, where do you save that max value? So for your next call, like, it needs to also be stateless. See how this one is
Yeah.
stateless? It doesn't rely on anything. It's a beautiful problem to have. We are evolving, like our brains are expanding because we're solving problems. This is truly going above and beyond. Like, any clown out there will be like, well, it works, don't fix it, right? But you know your solution is not good enough. That's the difference between a buck engineer, someone that just wants to get paid and move on, versus a principal engineer. So anyway, something for, you know, and just for the community, even though Brian is creating the issue, I want people to propose solutions in that issue. And the solution that gets, you know, can fulfill these particular conditions wins 100%.
Yeah.
All right. Tomorrow we do the exceptions. It's gonna be Mabruk and Brian all the way, because Kylo and I work today. Right?
Yep.
And then be aware, you know, because next time we do mapping like this, it's gonna be not Kailu or I, because we've done the mapping already, done our share.
So, brother, I want to ask, because we're calling this broker to do a conversion, and I think I spoke to you in chat about this, but I just want to talk to you in public about it. Do we need to catch any errors?
What errors come out of it?
Well, you could pass an int. Well, we don't control the ints that come from the other broker, and we're passing them into our broker. Sorry, we're passing them into the date time broker. So those ints that are going in, as we saw yesterday, can cause it to blow up if it's rubbish data.
Let's find out what exceptions are being thrown.
Hmm.
You know, if you can reproduce this, like if you can create an external, I'm with you on this, 100%. I appreciate that. If you can do an example where you're passing in a malicious value, and that value gets passed to the actual broker and it blows up, then we need to catch and know what that exception is, and we need to convert it and say corrupt data. Like this time, it's not the user's fault. We're actually throwing an exception saying, hey, OpenAI is giving us garbage, right? Like, let's say there's nothing to stop them because this is JSON. There's absolutely nothing to stop them from breaking their contract today and go and say, hey, I'm giving you ints, I'm going to give you a Boolean or a string. What are we going to do then? We need to go back and say corrupt model or corrupt response or or or,
Already,
or out of sync model, something like that. I
uh,
love
uh,
this.
there is this argument out of range exception can be thrown already
Did you say
from
French exception?
off range.
Oh,
Of range.
argument out of range. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Range.
I don't know what you're saying. It's been a long day, you know. I
Yeah.
don't know what you're saying, but yeah. So there's that part, right? By the way, we're running into 318 and 19 tests, 19
Mm.
iterations. I can hear my CPU churning, right? Because it's really going. But that's still not good enough. Even though you can fool someone and tell them, look, it doesn't fail. It's still not good enough. Our best option so far, the option that I would go with, I'd be like, go and give me the tick from the clock, from the machine.
Mhm.
Am I happy about it? No, but it's definitely okay. Okay, hold on. Any solution that we create needs to fulfill three criterias. It needs to work, it needs to be right, and it needs to be pretty. And if it loses any of these three things, then it's not standard compliant. Just because something works, it doesn't mean that it's right. Like for instance, if I tell you print me numbers from 0 to 10, right? You can literally just say console write line 1, console write line 2, console write line 3. It works, but it's not right. Now you can go and do an iteration on it. Great. If you do for each or, for loop or whatever, it works and it's right, but it's not pretty. It's not pretty. So that's why we go and say array dot for each and then print that console. Now it's pretty. I can tell you right now, 80 to 90% of the software that you'll see in your lifetime barely makes it somewhere between being working and being right. Barely in there. We're going way beyond that, way up there. All right, enough talking for today. We're beyond an hour at this point in time. I'm trying to keep it kind of short. Thank you all for joining me today. Appreciate the community feedback as well. Very helpful as usual. And let's keep churning at this. We can make this work. Like I said before we started, Mabruk said, let's take a look at the PRs and the open issues. So I'm just gonna do that before we take off for another day. Let's go up in here. Here's pull requests. Here's the clients. Who did this? Oh, our friend from Iceland. I like that guy. He's good. A cute baby sea otter. So let's see. What am I looking at here? So he put the API key. This is all beautiful. Oh, did he go all the way? Oh, you should delete me. Nice. I love this. And then he basically went and said, here's everything. Actual image generation, not null response. So what's the response? Is it just a URL? It is a URL.
Yep.
Well, it works. Then what's the problem? Let's take a look at the code then. So this works. Is it right? Is it pretty? That's how you review code, right? So let's see here.
You can actually ask it to generate a URL or base64.
I know someone mentioned that. Someone said you can choose the format.
Mhm.
We can give them two methods. We can give people two methods because I think does the model fundamentally change? The
Yes,
model pro.
it has two properties. It selects one or the other depending on what type you. This is what I commented on. He actually did really well to catch that, and so yeah.
He's a smart fella, isn't he? Okay, so he did the image. Oh man, that's beautiful. Oh my God. Okay, so he handled all of this by the book. He's playing by the book. By the book. So if I merge that, then this guy's way ahead of us. Now what are we gonna do then?
Put some more on the list.
Yeah, I know. This is going exactly the way I thought. The image generation client dependency error occurred. Hey Lou, would you do me a quick favor and just see syntactically on that PR? It's the client's PR. I think it looks good. I'm even gonna merge it, but if you see anything in there, it'll be code drops for this guy because it looks nice. If you don't mind.
It looks good, yeah.
Okay, so this guy then, did he say closes? Oh my God, look at this community. Okay, so that basically puts us at, let's see here. Okay, so this guy is basically done because he just needs an acceptance test and an integration test, and he needs a release. So we might release a couple of copies. This is amazing. I love this.
I can see 0.4 by the weekend.
0.4 definitely out, and then 0.5. So 0.4 will do the image generation, I guess, you know, and then 0.5. I mean, tomorrow we could finish the exceptions, and if we do it fast enough, we could take a session tomorrow, and then Friday we could do the clients and the tests and the release and the party. So we have 0.4, 0.5. I like it. Well, you know, my dear friend from Iceland, if you actually finish the things tomorrow, I'll make a release for you. I'll put your name on it. It'll be like this guy is doing exactly what we're expecting him to do. So this is great. Okay, and then the other stuff is going. We'll see if the transcript go by. I don't know who's owning this feature, but you know, 2 out of 3, that's not bad. But we'll see. I think he already got one part done. I think who's working on this part? Is that Diogo? Who's working on this part? Catalan. Catalan, yeah. Okay, Catalan, thank you for this. Okay, peeps, that's it for today. Any questions, comments, concerns? Drop a comment in the comment section. Join the standard community and ask questions. I see a lot of people saying I've never touched open source before, but this project is making me really wanting to kind of hop in and be a part of an iterative releases, agile methodology where we're actually doing these things. So that's great. I'm really happy about that. You know, please hop in. You know, you don't have to find my phone number on the internet and send me text messages. Just join the standard community. It works just fine, you know, and not that I mind. I don't mind. It's all just communications. You know, it doesn't really matter. But you know, I think if you jump onto the standard community, it's the community that doesn't really sleep. The sun doesn't set on that community. Like from all the way from Australia all the way up to here in Seattle and around the clock, right? So there's always someone up and someone that's responsive to your questions. And the people that are responding in the community, especially the apostles, you know, they're really taking ownership of kind of, you know, educating people coming in. And just so you guys know, you know, even some interns that come in, I kind of send them onto the standard community so they can kind of, you know, engage with the community and talk to people. There's some value into communicating with people and talking to them. And that's what I'm shooting for here. Other than that, as usual, forever grateful. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Abruk. Thanks, Diogo, and the rest of the standard community. And see you tomorrow. Okay. Take care. Thanks.